Yes, sir.
We started with the male system, and I think in the last class we started with the male system. Yes, reproductive system. So who will give me a quick recap of the last class? Anyone would like to volunteer? Otherwise, I will pick one. Okay. One would like to volunteer? Let me go to Hanifa. You're there? Would you like to give me a quick recap of the last class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you so much. Please. So what did we study in the last? You can see the, everyone can see the screen, right? So just from here.
We see about the reproductive system,
Yes.
and we also studied about puberty in boys and girls and the change that they go through when they attain the puberty, and the sexual maturation of the sexual organs in male and female. And
we also studied that there are two types of gametes in humans. In males, it is called spermatozoa, right? And in
yes,
females, what it is called? Yes, oocyte. Then what we did? We started with the male reproductive system, right?
yes, sir.
Yes, and I told you that the major function of a male reproductive system is to produce, store, and transfer the male gametes, right? The production and storage part is similar to that in females, but only males transfer their gametes into the female tract, right, Hanifa?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And then I told you about regulation part. Would you like to tell me about the hormonal regulation? Hypothalamus, pituitary, what was that? What hormones are important? FSH and LH, right? Which you can see on your board right now. And they are secreted from pituitary gland, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I told you that hypothalamus regulates the pituitary gland, and pituitary gland produces FSH and LH, which targets the ovaries or testes in case of male, and then they go and regulate the other sexual characters. FSH is primarily important for spermatogenesis in the testes, and LH is responsible for release of testosterone. And then this testosterone itself helps in spermatogenesis, and majorly it brings the puberty related changes, all the changes, right? And I told you these were the changes in males: facial hair growth, coarsening of the voice becomes low pitched, and pubic hair develops, height starts to shoot up, muscle mass increases, bone density increases, fat distribution happens, and the organism, the male human, starts getting into sexual drive, right? That's true for all males that achieve sexual maturity. Remember, we discussed about mantis and rats, praying mantis and rats. Remember that?
Yes.
That this drive overpowers all other drives, right? We also studied about castration, where I told that to keep animals domesticated animals docile, castration is done, which is removal of testes, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Then I also took you through the overall anatomy, the internal structure of the reproductive system in males. And did we discuss all of this in detail? The structures? We have not written anything, right? Yet. I have not dictated anything. I just told you the overall outlook. Did we
Yes, sir.
discuss this picture, this diagram or not?
No, sir.
No. Okay. So this is where we have to take from today. I asked you to go back and read meiosis and spermatogenesis, right? I recall because it's written here.
Yes, sir.
So all of you, did you go back and read about meiosis and spermatogenesis? Because in today's class, it's going to be meiosis heavy class. You studied meiosis, everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay. Zed has also joined in. Good evening, Zed. I'm
Good evening, sir.
audible and visible to you, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's start with this. So we have studied the overall structure, and this is the structure of like the anatomy of reproductive structures, a diagram from the frontal side. Okay. Always in anatomy or anatomical, when we study about organs, their structures, and about them, remember that what we study in the book is, so if I ask you that which, this is 1 and this is 2, which of the testes is right and left in this diagram? Tanya, which do you think is right one and which is the left one?
The first one
Is
is right.
yes. So you understood actually. So it's our left, like what we see on the screen is actually the right of that organ or that structure, because in anatomy we see it from the perspective of the organ. Okay, so what is on our left hand side is actually the right side of that organ. Okay, okay, very good. So as I've already told you that testis is the main site for spermatogenesis. So two things happen in testis. One is spermatogenesis, which is a type of gametogenesis, and other is release of hormone. Yes,
Yes.
both testes and ovaries, being the primary reproductive organ, also are known as dual organs. This you have studied in your last standard. Remember, testis is known as a dual organ because it acts
Yes.
the gland to secrete hormone, endocrine gland, and it also acts as an organ which produces sperms, the gametes. So that's why it's a dual organ. Now everything starts in the testis, and the process of spermatogenesis in detail we will do after this. But let's just, so you know that spermatogenesis happens in the testis, and from the testes things move into, so inside the testes are these testicular lobules. Okay, and each lobule, it carries inside the lobules are seminiferous tubules. So testicular lobules contain, each lobule contains about 1 to 4 seminiferous tubules, and everything with respect to spermatogenesis, like the formation of the sperm, is happening within this tubule, this seminiferous tubule. Okay, about which we will study. Now suppose spermatogenesis has happened, then the sperm from these seminiferous tubules, which are in testicular lobules. So the word testicle and testis is same. Okay, it's for the same thing. Whether you call it testicle or testis, it's the same thing. Then it goes into one structure called rete testis. So if you label it seminiferous in a direction of spermatogenesis and sperm movement, first comes seminiferous tubules, then testicular lobules, then it goes into rete testis, then vasa efferentia, then finally this crescent structure, this structure which I'm outlining here, which sits on the top of the testes, is called epididymis. We will study about this also today. So inside the epididymis, the maturation of the newly formed sperm takes place. Okay. Then it goes into vas deferens, and from the vas deferens, it finally goes into the urethra, like the sperm duct or urethra. Urethra is a common opening for both urine, the excretory substance from the urinary bladder, and the sperms. Okay, so urethra, you can write down, is common passage for both urine and sperm.
So what is the use of prostate and bulbourethral gland?
I'm coming to that. I'm just giving you a broader outline. I will go into everything in detail. Okay. In between, after the vas deferens, so vas deferens is till here, like this tube you see. So till here is the point where you have made sperms and you can store sperms. After it goes out of the vas deferens, it has no point of return, and sperms only cross vas deferens during ejaculation process. So when the urge to ejaculate during a sexual drive happens in a male, then only all these sperms come out of vas deferens and they move from the sperm duct, where they encounter three glands. The first one is seminal vesicle, the first gland in line. Second is prostate, and third is bulbourethral gland, ABC, I'm marking it. They are all lined one after the other. And the function of these three glands is to produce and secrete the semen. So the fluid in which sperm is present, when it is transferred through ejaculation into the female tract, that fluid is known as semen. Okay. And semen has lots of different things secreted from seminal vesicle, prostate, and bulbourethral gland. Okay, is it clear? So all these three glands have different functions, about which we will study after this in detail. But these three glands are very, very important to help and assist the sperm in its motility, in its viability, and in its protection. Okay, so that is the role of these glands. Then finally it comes through urethra and comes out from the urethral opening, which is in the penis. And the structure, which I have already told you about penis, we'll also study about this. We have not done the structure of penis in detail, no. Okay, we have to start this as well. So this is the overall broader outline of male reproductive system. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
All the glands are familiar. And see here, urinary bladder. So this seminal vesicle is actually present behind the urinary bladder. So if you see from a sidewise, like from a lateral angle, if you see here, this is the urinary bladder and this is the seminal vesicle. So if you look at from the lateral side, you can clearly see that it is towards this back, right? Towards the posterior side of the urinary bladder, right? They have just shown it like this here so that it's visible. Otherwise, it's not visible from the frontal side. Is it clear? So don't get confused that seminal vesicles are in front of urinary bladder. They are towards the back. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with today's class, where we will be starting with about so there are, write down, there are primary sexual organs and there is a secondary sexual organ. The secondary sexual organ, or also known as the accessory organ. So primary sexual organ is the one without which reproduction cannot happen. Can you tell me which is the primary sexual organ in a male?
Testis.
Testis.
Yes, testes. And in a female?
Ovary.
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 Yes. So testes and ovary, I should say ovaries because they are also in pair. They are the primary sexual organs. And secondary sexual organs are those which assist. So in males, Secondary sexual organ is penis. And what is the secondary sexual organ in females? Accessory organ, without which reproduction cannot happen. So some books refer uterus as a secondary sexual organ, but actually it has a very different role. It is not for the process of like fertilization actively. Yes, sperms move through there, but it is dedicated for holding pregnancy. Okay, so in case of males, it is penis, and we'll study about this first before going to the primary sexual organ. Okay, so write down penis. Yes. Now write down penis is a muscular organ. Penis is a muscular, or you can add muscular cylindrical tube like organ. So it has a tube which is called urethra going right through it. So it's a muscular cylindrical and tube like organ which helps in the transfer of sperms, from the male reproductive system into the female reproductive system. Okay, everyone.
Okay, sir.
Now, what is the also let me tell you this one thing before we go into this. The type of tissues from which penis develops during the embryonic stage when a male body is formed, these types of tissues are also present in female reproductive system, but they do not form a structure like penis because there the transfer of gamete is not required. Female reproductive system is receptive to gametes. It receives gamete, it does not transfer it to some other system. So these kind of tissues in female system plays other, like make another structure and have other roles. Okay, but it is also present in female. You remember I told you, did I tell you this, that about the default state of sex in biology?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we know that the female sex is the default, right? So it can also be understood by this, that almost everything that is present in a male body is also present in a female body. Okay, if not in that proper form and structure, then as something else, but the similar tissues are present. Okay, there is nothing which is exclusively different in a male body, not even testosterone. Okay, even testosterone is present in female system, but in a very, very low concentration and quantity. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. So write down, a penis has three parts. Penis has three parts as an organ. The first part is called the root or the beginning. Okay, the root, body, and head. These are the three parts. Okay, now write down, it contains erectile tissue. So about the root is from where it is attached to the male body, and the body, which is also known as shaft, it's called the penile shaft. this part contains erectile tissues. This is the interesting part of its biology. Now, erectile tissues are those tissues which are capable of erection, becoming harder, and can change the shape as well and the size as well upon like generation of pressure by blood flow, incoming blood flow. Okay, so erectile tissues, they are called, there are two types of tissues you can write down: corpus cavernosa or cavernosum, and corpus spongiosum. Corpus okay, corpus cavernosum and corpus spongiosum. Now this term itself, spongiosum, tells you that it's like a sponge, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
So corpus cavernosum is towards the outside and this is towards the inside. And it's called spongiosum because it is like it has a sponge like structure or arrangement. And you know, in sponge, fluid can get filled in between spaces, right? You can also, if you squeeze a sponge, wet sponge, you will see lots of water coming out. So it can hold a lot of fluid. Yes or no? So this tissue, which is the erectile tissue, also holds blood inside when the organism is in arousal state or in sexual drive. So the state at which these erectile tissues become erect and harden, that state is called arousal state in males. Okay, clear? And these,
Okay.
remember, these two tissues are important. You can write down the erectile tissues gets filled with the erectile tissue gets filled with blood upon arousal and the erection takes place, the penile erection takes place. Now if these tissues gets dysfunctional or there is some kind of a disorder in these tissues, then there is a problem that occurs when the erection no longer can happen or can persist, and that's called erectile dysfunction. You can write this dysfunction, write down this as well, because as we will go through organs, we will also study some major disorders that are asked. Erectile dysfunction is where the erectile tissues are not functioning properly, or the blood flow is not channeling to these tissues, or even if it is, they are not getting erected, they're not getting hardened. Is it clear? And this problem, erectile dysfunction, can cause infertility. Why can it cause infertility? Sperms are still being formed, and if it is not, if penile tissues are not getting erect, they will not be able to transfer it effectively into the female system. Now remember, I told you that female system is very, very hostile to sperms. It is not a favorable environment where sperms would like to go and enjoy. It is very, very hostile, and sperms dies, lot of sperms dies in that female tract, right? Remember, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So this transfer becomes very important part. It's an accessory part of that whole function of sexual reproduction, that whole process of sexual reproduction. Okay. In this case, where because of erectile dysfunction, males are not able to transfer their gametes effectively, the only, what is the cure? As like if any one of you wants to become a gynecologist or a sexologist, then what will you offer as a solution? We will artificially assist their transfer. Yes? Yes or no?
Yes.
And by artificial assistant, it means that technically we, through some artificial means, we will transfer those sperms either inside the female tract properly, or we can do a IVF. Remember I told you about in vitro fertilization?
Yes, sir.
So we take the ovum, a secreted ovum from the female, and we take sperms from the male, and we allow it to artificially uh, fertilize in a test tube or in a artificial environment. And when that fertilization happened, after that we implant back that zygote or that embryo inside the female uterus. Okay, and then the pregnancy happens. So everything clear with the erectile tissues, type, and how they function?
Yes.
Now, just
Yes,
here,
sir.
I'll tell you. Any questions, anyone?
No, sir.
Now, just here, I'll tell you about one thing related to this erectile tissue as well. So, as a not a cure, but like to help with erectile dysfunctions, or to help a male with holding the erectile tissues properly, there is a chemical which is used called sildenafil. The commercial marketing name for this is Viagra. I'm sure you all must have heard of this word somewhere. You know about sildenafil? Sildenafil it has an interesting story actually. It was not being developed as a drug to help with erectile function, but actually it was being developed for something else, probably some cardiovascular disorder, to help the heart. Okay, do you understand? You know that every drug has to go through some trials and testings before it can come to the market.
Yes.
There are many phases. So there are 3 phases actually: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And where in the last stage you actually test those drugs on normal human for any side effect, right? They volunteer themselves for this testing, and they are kept under observation, and you put a dose and you see what are the other potential side effects, if there are any. So every drug has a side effect. It has to have a side effect, but those side effects should not be very, very major, right? If we are treating some person, we should not give him some other, a bad disease or something else. For example, when you take any drug for headache or vomiting or something else, they always, it's written that there are some side effects, this or this may happen. You may feel little dizzy, you may feel feverish, you may feel nauseating. Don't worry, right? So they saw that a side effect for sildenafil, which was observed and which was reported by many of the volunteers, was uncontrolled or unwanted erection of the penile tissues. Okay. Now there they realized that it has immense potential if we sell it as something which can help you with erectile function. So it just got, like, they started selling this drug, purified, and started selling this drug as a alternate, like, to help with erectile function. Is it clear? But remember this chemical sildenafil, it has been asked in entrance once. Okay, it's an active component of Viagra. Now, talking about the head of the structure. So the head is also known as glans. It's called glans penis, the glans of the penis. And the head is covered with a foreskin, which actually is removed in the process of circumcision. You can write down foreskin, which covers the glans of the penis or head of the penis. Right now, the foreskin, which covers the glans or head of the penis, is removed, surgically removed, and that procedure is known as circumcision. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Yes. So we realize that this secondary structure, the secondary organ, works through erectile tissues, in blood inflows, and creates pressure in these tissues and they change their shape and size. And we also studied circumcision. The disorder associated with erectile tissues is called erectile dysfunction. And to assist and help in that, there's a drug called sildenafil, which is an active component of Viagra. So all these are things that you have to remember about penis that can be asked. Okay. Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. No one asked how does sildenafil works. Like, even if it will not be asked in detail how does it work basically, but these tissues to get erected, they need signaling from inflow of the blood, right? The blood should flow in them, correct? Yes or no? Now there is a signaling in our body which actually diverts the blood flow towards the penis. So this active component, sildenafil, actually taps into that signaling and activates that signaling even if the organism is not in a sexual arousal. So for sildenafil to work, it is just a drug that goes and hijacks the system, taps in, and even if the organism is not in sexual drive or not in the state of arousal, still these penile tissues will get erect. Is it clear? So it is not controlled from the brain or the organism itself. Okay. And over time, whenever we use any drug on which our system starts getting dependent, then over time, the situation becomes even worse. You understand how it, in a long term, how it affects the system? Because now the system is acting on the cues of sildenafil. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So it becomes even more difficult for the male who's using sildenafil in a long term to assist this process to control it on its own. Okay, so the situation actually worsens. It's not a cure. It's not a permanent cure for erectile dysfunction. That's why it is a kind of therapeutically and morally controversial drug. The use of it is not advised. Okay, now let's go to the primary structure. And what was the primary sexual organ? In males?
Certain testes.
Yes. We call it testicles or testes. And let's see what's interesting. So testes, as we know, it's a dual gland. And first we will study about the regulation part. Okay. And then we will go to the internal structures. So I'll put this figure a little down. Write down. This is also a question which has come in boards one time. How is, write down the question, how is the male reproductive system regulated? How is the male reproductive system regulated? So the regulation part. How do you think system is regulated? Let's think it like this. See, logically, you have to just apply logic. So a boy is born, and that male human starts growing, and when it reaches the age of 13 to 15, certain changes starts happening, which we have discussed above, the puberty related changes, right? Yes. But how does the body, the reproductive system, the reproductive structures were already present right from the birth, right? They were not just working, they were not functional. Do you understand? Like just like all other organs, kidney, heart, testes were also present always inside a male body. Then what happens at puberty, that they start forming sperms during puberty and not before or anywhere after that, like late. What do you think? How is it regulated? If any system has to be regulated in a timely manner, in a temporal manner in the body, in living system, how do you think that can be achieved? Simple. If you want to wake up exactly at 8 a.m., not before, and you do not want to get late, what will you do? That what?
I didn't get the question.
If you want to wake up at 8 a.m. in the morning without fail, you do not want to wake up early, you do not want to get late, what will you do to ensure that you wake up at the right time?
I will fix a man or a person who can wake me up, or I can put an alarm for that before half an hour.
Yes.
Okay.
So in any, like through both the ways, you're correct. So when there were no alarms, people used to, or if you have a habit of waking up, your body just wakes up. You know that your body has an internal clock that's called the
Yes.
biological clock. Everyone's body has that. So you need to put an alarm to wake up, because we are not in a habit of, if you are not in a habit of waking up at the same time every day. If you have a habit of waking up at the same time every day, your internal biological clock will make you wake up. Your sleep will get disrupted, or it will just end around that time all the time. You may not feel it. How many of you wake up without an alarm? Those who have a fixed routine, who go to sleep exactly at the same time or around that time every day, every night, and then wake up in the morning. Yes, Zed, you do, right? You wake up without an alarm,
Yes.
which means your biological, internal biological clock is,
Sometime I have to use the alarm, but yeah.
but it's not like if we, it may be because your schedule is fixed, right? You go to sleep within a range and you wake up within a range without an alarm, right?
Yes.
When someone's schedule is not fixed, then the body does not gets into a habit of waking up and sleeping. Then only you feel the need of an alarm, or if you just want to make it foolproof that I have to wake, then how, all of you, I think, I believe, or especially during the fasting in the Ramzan, you must have felt that the body gets used to eating habits very quickly, and we can
Yes, sir.
clock with our food habits. So without fail, sometimes you are not even looking at the clock, you are working and you are just immersed in your work, and you will realize that you started feeling hungry, and you realize, oh, it's already 2, because you always have lunch around 2. Has it happened with you? I'm
Yes.
sure it must have happened, because the body knows when you will eat, after what intervals you eat every day. So if you keep your eating regime fixed, if you keep any regime fixed, your body will just give you cues or signals that, see, this is the time to do this. Okay, everyone?
Okay.
So what Zed actually answered, he was trying to say that we need a signaling. We need something or someone to tell that this is the time you start doing this, right? And this is how biology also makes sure that in a very timely manner puberty occurs, and that happens through hormonal regulation. So write down the answer for the question that you wrote. The male reproductive system is tightly regulated is tightly regulated through hormonal signaling through hormonal signaling. Okay. Now I'll take you back to class 11th to one chapter called chemical control and coordination. Remember studying?
Yes. Control.
In chemical control and coordination, we studied about, what did we study about? Atif,
Hormones.
you're there in the class and you're silent. What happened?
No, sir, nothing, sir.
Are you upset?
No, sir.
Okay, then I expect discussions from you.
Okay, sir.
Okay, pressures, no pressures. Okay. Okay, but yes, you should. Everyone should. It's not just for Atif. It's just me and Zed talking. Like, better Zed might have called me and we were like, okay, Zed, let's talk about testes now. Anyways, so it happens through hormones. And remember class 11th, neural control and coordination and chemical control and coordination. There were 2 chapters that you studied. Hormones are basically chemical entities which are present in your bloodstream in your body in very trace amounts. So they do not have, so they are signaling molecules, right? And to give signal, you do not need something in very, very large quantity, right? Even if you write a message on a very small piece of paper, even in a coded manner, that message should reach, right? You do not need to send a signal by 100 people accompanying the signal. That's the difference between something which is required by the body for growth and nutrition. So whatever is required by the body for growth and nutrition, we need that in bulk. You understand, everyone? Like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, we need that in bulk. So we eat it. It's there in our bloodstream in higher concentrations. Whereas hormones, whose only function is to go and act at the target organ. They will not even act at all the organs. They will only act and send the message to the target organ. So only the target organ can understand it. So they are in very trace amounts. So there is a structure called hypothalamus. Remember this hypothalamus?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. What was hypothalamus? Where was it? Where was this?
So in the brain, above pituitary gland.
Yes, above the pituitary and below the thalamus. See, the name says hypothalamus. What does hypo means? Low. Yes. Lower to thalamus is hypothalamus, and this hypothalamus releases 2 type of hormones, and they are either releasing hormones. Releasing hormones are excitatory, or it can release inhibitory hormone. And inhibitory hormone are, of course, they are inhibitory. These 2 type of hormones go and reach the pituitary. Now remember pituitary gland?
Yes.
Who will tell me it had 2 lobes? What are those called? There are 2 lobes. Yes, Atif.
Anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary.
Perfect. And anterior pituitary, there are 2 scientific names as well: adenohypophysis, neurohypophysis. Remember these names? If no,
Yes, sir.
yes, go back and revise this. So they never ask you, entrances never ask you about anterior or pituitary. I have seen this word very less. Mostly they say neurohypophysis or adenohypophysis. Then you have to understand it. They are talking about anterior and posterior only. So this pituitary gland is also known as the master gland, correct? Why it is called master gland?
Yes, sir.
Why it is called master gland?
Because it controls most of the functions of the body.
Yes, because it secretes a whole array of hormones that goes and targets various different organs in our body and regulates a lot of functions. So there are many hormones secreted from pituitary, including the growth hormone. And 2 of these hormones are FSH and LH. Can anyone tell me what is FSH and what is LH? FSH, Dania. Dania, what is FSH? Remember FSH? Class 11th. These 2 hormones are secreted by pituitary. FSH is follicle.
Stimulating hormone.
Yes, perfect. And what is LH?
Luteinizing hormone.
Yes, right. Follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Now, in lower classes, we think, or I think if you are clear, then you know that both FSH and LH, they seems like they only act on ovary, but they actually go and act both on ovaries and testes. Okay, so they act on testes and they also act on ovaries in female. Okay, so FSH, write down. Let's write down this thing. Pituitary gland secretes under the same heading, regulation. pituitary gland secretes two hormones known as FSH and LH. Write the full form also. Secretes two hormones, FSH and LH. Which goes and act on testes and ovaries as their target organ. Testes and ovaries. So we are first talking about testes here in male. Now you can write down FSH is responsible for, or it plays an important role in, whatever you want to write. FSH is responsible for initiating. What do we mean by initiating? Starting. Okay. Spermatogenesis. So FSH starts spermatogenesis. If FSH is not in the system, spermatogenesis will not start in the testes. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Whereas LH goes in the testes and it do two things. First, it tells the testes start secreting another hormone, which is called testosterone. So write down testosterone is the main sex hormone of the male system. Is the main sex hormone in male. And when testosterone is secreted, so it goes and tells the testes to secrete testosterone, because testosterone has two things it helps in. First is testosterone brings about all the secondary sexual characters. All those characters that we studied above. Can you now connect it to puberty? To this part here? This. The second thing is it helps in spermatogenesis. Okay, clear, everyone?
Yes.
Now coming to spermatogenesis, look at this. So you all have studied meiosis, right? What is meiosis? Let's first go to meiosis. So I'm starting spermatogenesis now. So what is meiosis? Quickly, just a quick fast recap. Tanya, meiosis. It is known as
The division,
reductional division
reductional division
of
the cells,
yes. And why it is called reductional division?
because the number of the chromosomes reduces.
Yes, the number of chromosome reduces, or you can say the ploidy level reduces. Remember I told you what is ploidy? Ploidy is the copy number of genome. If there is
Yes.
one copy, it is haploid, two copies diploid, three copies triploid. Okay. So meiosis, some quick facts that you have to know about meiosis that is asked in entrances. It is called reductional division. It happens specifically for gametogenesis. Okay. Oogenesis and spermatogenesis. So it happens for gametogenesis right now. And only diploid cells can undergo meiosis. Because in meiosis, and have we discussed meiosis before? Meiosis and mitosis? Yes, there. Have we discussed this before?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you know that I have told you there are two cycles of cell division in meiosis, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2.
Yes, sir.
So I have also told you that meiosis 2 mimics mitosis, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. So now let's come to spermatogenesis, which is the topic that we will be spending most of the time, the rest of the time. Now you have to understand this process in detail because it has lots and lots of questions for entrances. Now this is the testes. Now first let's look at this diagram and follow my cursor, and then I'll allow you to draw and write. I'll allow your time. So this structure is here is testis, right? So one testis. So you can see that inside the testis there are these tube-like structures. Can you see these small tubes, which are called Semi-Ferrous Tubule? One of them
Yes.
is like zoomed out here. So this is a Semi-Ferrous Tubule I was talking about. It is present inside the lobule. So, for example, this is one lobule, this is another lobule, and testis has lobules. Lobules are just chambers, okay, in which you will see that these seminiferous tubules are present. Now, if I take one tubule out and start understanding its structure, so it has, like all tubes, it has a hollow space in the center which is called lumen. Can you see this space, everyone, which I am marking here? Yes, this is called lumen. Okay. And from the wall of that tubule to the lumen, there is a thick region. You see this region? And this is the region in which spermatogenesis takes place. So first question is, where does spermatogenesis in a testis takes place? So it takes place in the seminiferous tubules, okay, and not in the lumen, in the thick region where cells are present. Now this here is the seminiferous tubule wall or the membrane. So towards this side is the wall, and towards this side is the lumen. Is it clear, everyone? You see this box?
Yes.
Now you can see spermatogenesis always happens from the wall from the boundary towards the lumen. So we have to go in this direction as we progress with spermatogenesis. Okay. So let's start from here. I'm making this line here. So the first type of cells which comes into picture are primordial germ cell. We call them PGC, primordial germ cells. Primordial germ cells are called germ cells because they give rise to gametes and gonads both. Write down. Primordial germ cells give rise to gonads and gametes. And what are gonads? You all know what do we mean by gonads? Gonads are the primary reproductive organs. So testes and ovaries are called gonads. Another term used. Just remember this. So the whole sexual primary organ comes from during the embryonic development, they develop from these primordial germ cell, their lineage. So when it is in the form of primordial germ cell, it is outside the testis. It has not entered the testis yet. Is it clear, everyone? Say yes or no?
Yes.
When PGCs are inside the testes, they start forming spermatogonium cells. The first cells are this, spermatogonium. Remember plant reproduction that we just finished before there? There we read about microsporangium
Yes, sir.
and megasporangium.
Yeah.
We also studied megasporo, like that. The word gonium was also there in both for megaspores and microspores, pollen and egg cell. So this is similar. So a primordial germ cell is a 2N, a diploid cell. Is it clear? Inside the testis, it forms spermatogonium, which is again, it is a diploid cell, but this division this happens through mitotic division. So there is no meiosis that has yet happened. So you see the outermost cells, the cells which are touching the boundary here, these cells, big cells, they are spermatogonium cells. Is it clear? They are the first cells from where spermatogenesis begins, inside the testes. So if the question comes, which are the first lineage of cells, first generation of cells from which sperms are formed inside the testes, then what will you say? Inside the testes, it is spermatogonium. If they are not asking you inside the testes, then you can say primordial germ cell, because they are the cells which are responsible. Is it clear, everyone? Say yes,
Yes,
or
sir.
yes. So spermatogonium are formed from primordial germ cells through mitotic divisions. Now these are again diploid. They form primary spermatocyte. So they just change into primary spermatocyte. So this cell here, which is known as primary spermatocyte, is the first cell, first type of cell, which now has committed itself. Till you are spermatogonium, you may or may not go and form a sperm. You understand? If in some person spermatogonium is there, but it is just sitting there, right? It can form a sperm, but it has not yet uh, committed itself to the act. For example, currently in your, like when you are in your class 11th 12th, when you are in a schools, you are like primordial germ cells. You have not become doctor yet, right? You are nowhere near, you are nowhere close to becoming a doctor, because the first thing that you have to do is to commit yourself to becoming a doctor. Is what is the first line which you cross? Then you are committed to become a doctor. The pre-medical entrance, right? Yes or no? I'm just giving you the analogy. Say yes or no.
Yes.
Yes. So that is where you cross this line. So when cells become primary spermatocyte, which is still a diploid cell, it is a 2N cell. Okay. So the name is spermatocyte. So they often ask you, primary spermatocyte is haploid, diploid, like this, or which of the following is not a haploid cell? So primary spermatocyte is not haploid, it is diploid. Only when primary spermatocyte undergoes meiotic division, meiosis 1. Can you see meiotic division 1? When it undergoes the first meiotic division, it forms two cells, and you know that meiosis 1 is reductional. Yes.
Yes, sir.
And after meiosis 1, the primary spermatocyte makes secondary spermatocyte. The point to be noted here is that the meiosis cycle has yet not completed. Only meiosis 1 has completed. So secondary spermatocyte is in between. It's after meiosis 1, but meiosis 2 has not happened. So that is called secondary spermatocyte, and it is haploid. So write down, secondary spermatocyte is the first haploid cell in the process of spermatogenesis. Secondary spermatocyte is the first haploid cell in the process of spermatogenesis. Okay. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
But when meiosis 1 ends, from one cell, you only reach or you only make two daughter cells. Both are haploid. But meiosis 2 is still left. Because finally, at the end of one meiosis cycle complete, how many daughter cells must be formed from one parent cell?
2.
4. Remember, in meiosis, from one parent cell at the end of the complete cycle, which involves both meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, there are 4 daughter cells. So that's why secondary spermatocyte are 2. So a question has come in AIMS from 10 spermatogonium cells. How many secondary spermatocytes can be formed? Quickly, give me the answer. You will only be able to answer if you know details now. So you know the detail now. From 10 spermatogonium, they're asking about this stage. They can ask about any. But if let's say the question is about 10 spermatogonium is there, how many secondary spermatocyte will be formed?
20.
Yes, 20, right?
Yes.
And same from 10 primary spermatocyte, how many secondary spermatocytes can be formed?
Again 20.
Again 20. Only after the meiotic division 2 completes, the secondary spermatocyte becomes spermatids, which are again haploid, but they are 4. So from one primary spermatocyte, 4 spermatids are formed. Okay? Yes or no? Now,
Yes.
my question is for specifically for Hanifa. Hanifa, from 30 secondary spermatocytes, how many spermatids will be formed? From 30 spermatocytes, how many spermatids will be formed? Hanifa. 30 secondary spermatocyte, how many spermatids will be formed? The option is 30, 60, 90, 120. Sorry?
Not sure.
Not sure? Okay, Dania. From 30 secondary spermatocytes, how many spermatids will be formed? Dania.
I'm not sure, sir.
Just have to look at this chart and you will be sure. I'll go to Z. Z,
So maybe 600.
maybe
It will be double, so 600.
double.
Sorry. Sorry. 360.
60. Atif, what's your answer?
60. Yes, sir.
Yes. Why 60? Because from one secondary spermatocyte, there are only 2 spermatids. Can you see the arrow? Can you follow the arrow, everyone? Dania,
Yes.
Dania, do you understand? Why 60?
Yes, sir.
Because from one secondary spermatocyte, there will be 2 spermatids. From 2 secondary spermatocytes, 4 spermatids. From one primary spermatocyte, finally 4 spermatids. So is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
No
So
confusion.
from one primordial germ cell, how many spermatogonia will form? Is there like a fixed number for that?
No, it's just primordial germ cell just forms spermatogonium by mitotic division. So from one there will be 2, because remember, from one cell, if you are doing mitosis, 2 daughter cells are formed. But from one cell, if you are doing meiosis, there are 4 daughter cells which can be formed. Okay, Atif?
Okay, sir.
They have also shown it here, mitotic division and two. From one primordial germ cell, there are two spermatogonium. From each spermatogonium, there are from each spermatogonium, there is one primary spermatocyte. So from spermatogonium to primary spermatocyte, there is no division happening. It is just change in that cell. It's committing itself into a process. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So now if they ask you from one this, how many this, you will get to know, right? This is confusing, but you can easily find the answer. It's very easy. So at the end, we reach spermatids. Write down. Spermatids are undifferentiated gametes. Spermatids are undifferentiated gametes. What do we mean by, sorry, not non-differentiated gametes? Use the word non. Spermatids are non-differentiated gametes. What do we mean by differentiated gametes? What is the meaning of differentiation? I discussed this in plant chapter.
Cells are modified.
It means that they have finally achieved a form, a final form and a final function. So spermatids do not have a tail. So write down, spermatids do not have a tail or a head structure of a mature sperm. So basically spermatids are just like normal cells. They are not specialized to move like a sperm or to do the function of a sperm. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Write down, spermatids undergo differentiation. Spermatids undergo differentiation. I'm writing it here. Spermatids undergo differentiation to become mature sperm. Not mature, they are still not mature, so don't use the word mature. Write down, spermatids undergo differentiation. What will you use then? To become mature sperm morphologically, like look wise. Okay, they start developing a tail and a head and they look like sperms, but still some form of maturation is left. That will happen in epididymis. Written, everyone?
Yes.
Now you understood this flowchart. If you have any confusion, please, I can repeat it over and over again, but if we move forward, then I expect and I assume that you all understand this. Shall I move forward, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Now come to this picture and see here. So this is spermatogonium, which now becomes here primary spermatocyte. So it has come a little down, right? Then
Yes, sir.
this is secondary spermatocyte. Okay, it has come again a little down. Then we have spermatids. Okay, which is this one. These are spermatids which are trying to develop tails, and then finally we have sperms. So do you see, as these cells are seeking maturity, they are coming down towards the lumen, right? So they started somewhere around the wall of the tube, and the sperm reached almost, so this is the lumen, they almost reached the lumen. Yes. How are they moving down? These cells cannot move on their own, right? They have no motility. Yes. Say yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So how are they moving down? What do you think? They are moving down because of these cells. Write down. Can you see these Sertoli cells here, which are all
Yes.
these yellowish bigger cells?
So I think this certainly cells help the nutrition, the nutrition.
Yes, these Sertoli cells are actually like caretakers. Caretakers for those all the stages of spermatogenesis. So they nourish, they take care, they protect, and they also push these cells as they are maturing towards the lumen. Is it clear?
Yes.
Write down about Sertoli cells. These are very important cells. Write down Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells are randomly scattered. Sertoli cells are randomly scattered big cells present in the seminiferous tubule. Big cells, they are big in size, present in the seminiferous tubules. They have the following functions. They have the following functions. Right here. So I already told you they are randomly scattered. And in fact, they are almost everywhere. So every spermatogonium or every stage of the spermatocyte, these Sertoli cells are present around these developing sperms. So their function includes, first, write down, they nourish, and they nourish, which means they provide nutrition to the developing sperms. They provide nutrition to the developing sperm at all stages of spermatogenesis. At all stages of spermatogenesis. Second, write down, they also transport the spermatids. They also transport the spermatids as they are maturing towards the lumen. As they are maturing towards the lumen and away from the seminiferous tubule membrane or wall. Okay, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So Sertoli cells you all understood. Shall I move forward?
Okay, sir.
Now let's come. Finally, we reached, let's say, there is a sperm. Did I discuss with you the structure of sperm?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So let's make a sperm structure. So it has distinctly a head region, then a neck region, and then a tail region. Okay. In the head region, there is a cap like structure present, which is known as acrosome. Then inside the head, there is the male nucleus, right? Yes, containing the genetic material. And at the junction of head and neck, it has a centriole. What does a centriole do? Cell chapter in class 10th or 9th. Where did you study cell for the first time?
So are they having cytoplasm like that?
Yes, they have cytoplasm. So cell will have. I'm not marking cytoplasm because it's not that important. But this is the head region. You can mark cytoplasm. Then you have a neck region. Now in that neck region, there is a line like mitochondria are present. What is mitochondria?
They produce energy for the cell.
Yes, they are called powerhouse of the cell. Remember?
Yes, sir.
So there are 50 to 75 mitochondria lined up in a series, which is like a series of batteries fitted in the neck of the sperm, because the tail portion, this part, which is the tail part, requires lots and lots of energy to show a whiplash motion. You know what is a whiplash motion? It is not like a serpentine motion. So if you see, follow my finger, we know that snake moves in a zigzag thing. So that is a 2D motion, right? Snakes move in 2D, right? So if something is moving in 2D, it is like that's called serpentine motion. You understand? This is a serpentine motion. We often think that sperms move like that, but they do not move like that. They move even more vigorously. So if this is the tail, you can see my index finger is mimicking the tail of the sperm, okay? And the head is the fist. So if that sperm is going away from you, just look at the motion. So it moves like this in 3D as it's moving away. Can you figure out?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
From side, it looks like it is propelling like this, but there is a difference between a serpentine motion and a whiplash motion. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
More vigorous requires more energy. It's in 3D. So that tail undergoes whiplash motion, for which the energy comes from this mitochondria, around 50 to 75 arranged in a series in the neck region. And what does centriole do? What is, remember you have studied centriole in cell chapter. What is the function of centriole? Remember, during cell divisions, there are certain spindles which come and bind to the DNA, and half of the DNA is pushed on one side and half of the DNA is pushed on one side. Remember?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So centrioles helps in cell division. Like they make the cell divide. So centriole is provided by the sperm. If the sperm do not provide centriole to the ovum will not divide. Okay?
Okay.
For the divisions. And then there is a male nucleus containing the male genetic material, which is n haploid number of chromosome, one copy of the genome. And then this is acrosome. Write down. Acrosome, it's an important structure. Acrosome is like a cap on the sperm head. Acrosome is like a cap on the sperm head, which is the first structure that interacts, with the ovum or the surroundings inside a female tract, which interacts with the ovum or the surroundings in the female tract. Is it clear?
Yes.
Write down. Acrosome contains hydrolytic enzymes and one major component which is asked is, its name is hyaluronidase. You know that ACE means enzyme? ACE, amylase, salivary amylase. peptidase, nuclease, lipase, digestive system, class 11th. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
A hydrolytic enzyme which is present in acrosome. So this helps in when the sperm comes in contact with the ovum. The ovum is not a bare naked structure. It is not just the cell membrane is free and you just, the moment you touch the ovum, you directly touch the cell membrane. No, there is a covering, a transparent covering over the ovum. Okay, a thick covering. So the sperm first has to go through that covering. And that covering is peptide, like proteins and all other structures are there. So to degrade that covering so that sperm can find its way inside. So basically it digs. It digs a hole in the covering and goes to the membrane of the ovum, cell membrane. And for that, the acrosome helps. All these enzymes are released, which degrades the structure, and then the sperm enters. Is it clear?
Yes.
Write down, acrosome helps in fertilizing the ovum. Acrosome helps the sperm in fertilizing the ovum. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Any doubt in the structure of sperm or spermatogenesis?
No, sir.
No? Okay, there's one more thing I wanted to tell you. What did I wanted to tell you? Okay, so take time and draw this one, at least draw this flow chart. Write these names. If you're not even drawing the cell, just make arrows and make round, cells, and quickly draw this flow chart. And have you drawn the structure of sperm already?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So draw this, and then let's have to end the class here. So this is where we'll end today on spermatogenesis. In the next class, I will finish spermatogenesis, dictating you certain things which are required, most of which you have written today only, but we'll talk about certain things, and then we'll go to the female reproductive system. Okay. No. I still have to tell you about the glands. So in the next class also, which is on Wednesday, right? We will be talking about glands and their secretion. We have yet not made semen. We have not studied about semen. Okay. So do this and let me know when you are done. And this is where I end the class. If you have any doubts, please ask. Otherwise, goodbye, take care, stay blessed.
Sir, will you send any assignment?
Yes, I will be sending you for this formatogenesis and male reproductive system. Yes.
Okay. So can we leave?
Yes, okay. Everyone is,
Thank you, sir.
anyone who's drawing something or noting down something? I'm waiting for them. Dania, Atif,
Done, sir.
done? Okay. Bye then. Atif,
Thank you, sir.
something? Welcome, Dania.
No, sir.